FOMOs, YOLOs, you only live once. All those kinds of fears I was going through. But in the outside, everybody would see me confident, and uh, you could see that yeah, I could deal with it. But inside, I knew how it was, because it's a battle you have to fight alone. Because really, how much can somebody help you besides being positive support for you? Um, so there were a lot of mindsets and a lot of my own limiting beliefs that were coming into my, like, I had to deal with them on my own. They were coming in my face, and I had to recognize them and didn't know what to do with it. So I went through a whole cycle of emotional grapples every moment. I went through those modes of very excited, very confident phase to really lowest of my low confidence, being not acceptable, um, self-doubting my own skills and my existence in the professional space. The biggest discovery, I think, for me was after a lot of effort was that I realized um, that my whole the biggest problem and the challenge for me was that my whole identity I had placed around my working life. That I'm a working person and I have a salary. That paycheck, it seems, was my identity. And the moment I stopped getting that paycheck in my hand, I think I lost, it seems, my own self. I didn't know who was I, and I gave a lot of importance to that. And it took me a lot of time to get over that limiting belief of mine that my salary defines me, or if I'm working, people respect me. So I think that was one whole emotional turmoil that I had to come out of. Like even going out for a coffee, where I know I could afford because I have savings and I had my husband who's earning, and we have fairly taken care of. Um, but for me to go out and just buy that cup of coffee on my own, it was tough because it wasn't my salary, and in my mental situation, I was almost. So I stopped going out. I stopped meeting a lot of people. And I'm sitting in a coffee shop with a friend who's working. I'm like, I wish I could afford a coffee. Well, it wasn't about affording a coffee. You could always afford a coffee, right? But in my mind, I was like, no, I don't deserve these luxuries anymore. So I stopped shopping. I stopped going out for coffees. I restricted myself in meeting out people and spending that money on myself. So a lot of guilt about not being able to contribute financially. Um, so I think that was the other side of me feeling myself as self-reliant and independent woman. I think when we think we are independent, we give a lot of accountability on it to the earning part of it, which shouldn't be the case. But and that's why when the money part was taken away from it, I just fell flat. I lost my whole self. So I think that's how I was feeling initially, for a long time actually.
I guess it's not just about the skills and money. We are used to working with a team where we exercise some authority. And working alone is totally a different cup of tea. We do associate with a lot of people in the industry or outside, but at the same time, we realize our limitations that they are not reporting to us. So, do you
Hmm.
think that lack of authority mattered?
No,
No.
not for me. See, I was working in a team where I had a team size of 500,000 plus people,
Hmm.
and people engagement was my biggest strength, and also the part that I enjoyed most. Like, I still have contacts of people who are in my team. We're very fond of each other. We keep in touch. But authority was never in, even in my leadership style, authority never came into play. But yes, I missed, uh, and it was more from me than from anybody else, that I thought I was not part of the group anymore because I wasn't working. So I couldn't identify myself anymore with that set of people. But the other side to it is that when I would meet my colleagues, even if I would meet my peers or my reportees or anybody, my ex-colleagues, they would look at me as if I was this surprise package for them because they would see something which I wasn't able to see. Like they would enjoy looking at me, or they would envy my freedom, or the stories I would tell them, the kind of experiences I was having, the people I was meeting. But on the other side, while I was telling them all these happy stories about me, I was like, oh, they're so lucky. They have work to do. What are they cribbing about? Uh, but it took me a lot of time. I went through a process where I understood that the whole mix of this identity that I had created for myself around this working situation and forgetting everything else. Like even the professional connections I had, some of them were really, really at a level which were not professional. They were really personal friendships, but I was really not giving them that level of importance. I was just, I'd not given them that value, and I was just looking at them more professionally. So while they were looking at me as if I've turned around my life, I was thinking, I don't know what they see here, but look, they have this salary to take home, and they're not happy about it. So what is bothering them really? So I think that is something that I struggle with. But authority, I never did. Um, but I know now why they think so, and I took a lot of time to connect with myself and introspecting, and gave myself a lot of time to think through these things and questions.
So, in retrospect, how do you see the experience? How has it changed you as an individual?
Listen, if somebody says, would I have done the same thing? I wouldn't be a great person to say, yes, I would have quit still. No, I wouldn't have quit. I would have maintained my salary. But a lot of learnings that I could have used now in my corporate life, um, if I go back then, I would change my decision. I would not quit. I would continue working, but with, in a different way. Um, so in retrospect, I think this experience has been learning, if I can say. Um, Gave me a lot of time to connect with myself. I've been always curious in my life. I've liked to question things, but I've never took time to really write down, think through. So there was a time when I was thinking I don't have any skills because I was a delivery manager or delivery leader, and we don't come with specialized skills. So who's going to hire me? So I remember writing down these 10, 20 pages for 2 weeks, wherein I wrote a lot of stuff that what I've been doing. And then I took a day out to go back to those writings, and I realized that there were some skills that I have that I could play on, which is interpersonal skills, which is handling ambiguity, which is um, client engagement. My clients were always happy with me. Cross-cultural diversity that I had, So I think those leadership skills that I had, business excellence, competence that I had. So I took a note down. So from a point of thinking I don't have any skills, I could note down 10 skills. And when I look back now, all those thoughts connect because today I'm an entrepreneur where all these skills are very critical. So I'm a very good decision maker. Like I take my decisions quickly. So it helps in my entrepreneurial journey. Coaching came naturally to me. So I think that's something while I got myself certified, I got myself some additional skills in the process. But the different people that I met, I think the connections, the networking that I've done in these last 5 years, um, that was something which was really underrated when I was in a job. And we all do that. Like when we have this comfortable, cozy job with us, we underrate networking and we don't attempt neither internal nor external. But I think in these 5 years, I learned those lessons of networking, of how it is important to just connect with people without any expectations of taking help or offering help. Just engaging with people outside of work and over and above work. I think that's very important.